Yes, hello, welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast for team lists for round 12. Kicks off on Thursday, the 21st of May, between the Raiders and the Dolphins at GIO Stadium. Let's have a look at the Raiders team for this week. Keep in mind, guys, it is Origin bye week, so about half the teams have a bye round, and the Origin players from both New South Wales and Queensland will not be lining up this week. So it's one of those rounds. Only 5 NRL games, and of course we've got the Origin game one next Wednesday night. The Raiders line up such as this: at fullback, KO Weeks; the two wingers, Savelio Tamale and Xavier Savage; the centres are Sebastian Chris and Matthew Tomoko; the halves, Dane Laurie; of course no Ethan Strange due to Origin duties. Ethan Sanders is the halfback. The 8 is Corey Horsburgh; 9 Tom Starling; 10 Joseph Tarpany. The back rowers are Atta Mariota, Zach Hosking and Jaden Brayley. Of course, Simi Sasangi is out for an extended period of time with an injury, so he won't be in the back row this week. On the bench, Owen Paddy at 14. I love that. 15 is Jordan Uta, 16 is Morgan Smithies, and the 17 is Jed Stewart, of course, an outside back there as back up there. 18, Chevy Stewart; 19, Jake Clydesdale; 20, Kobe Black, the youngster that they've bought from the Brisbane Broncos. Going to be interesting to see if he gets a go sometime in this game. Vina Patuki Case at 21, and 22, Ethan Alea. For the Dolphins at fullback, of course, no Hamaso Tabuai Fido, so Trey Fuller lines up at fullback. The wingers are Jermaine Asako and Tavita Nafahu. The centres are Jack Bostock and Herbie Farnworth. The halves, Brad Schneider and Isaiah Katoa. Felice Kafusi; Jeremy Marshall King starts at hooker this week with Max Plath, obviously due to Origin duties. He won't be playing in this game. The 10 is Francis Molo. The back rowers, Corneli Lemuelu, Kulikefu, Fine Fuiaki and Morgan Knowles. Fine Fuiaki, very, very unlucky not to make the starting side for Queensland, to be honest. The bench is Kurt Donahue. The 15 is Ray Stone, 16 Tom Gilbert, 17 Oren Keeley, 18 Brian Ponu, 19 Lewis Simons. The 20 is John Finanganofo and 21 Eljo Nonu. The 22 is Patrick Kalahi. So that is how the Dolphins line up in that game. Now, for the Friday night game, this is 8 p.m. kickoff at a course stadium between the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs and the Melbourne Storm. The Bulldogs, I think they've lost 6 of their last 7. Can they snatch a victory this week? Let's find out. At fullback, Connor Tracy; the two wingers, Jacob Carraz coming back into the side, and Jonathan Sewer on the other wing. The centres are Bronson Sherry and Onari Tuala. Of course, no Stephen Crichton in this game due to Origin duties. The halves are Matt Burton and Lachlan Galvin. Up front, Max King; Bailey Haywood stays in the number 9 jersey, and the 10 is Leo Thompson. The back rowers, Satili Tupanua, Jacob Preston and Jamin Salmon is locking the scrum. The 14 is Kurt Mann, Harry Hayes. 16 is Jack Underhill. The 17 is Akala Sami Jones. The 19 is Jethro Rinakama. Marcelo Montoya has been named in the 20. 21 is Josh Curran. 22, Sean O'Sullivan. And 23, Jed Reardon. So my prediction in this game is that Jonathan Sewer will drop out of the side. Marcelo Montoya will start on the wing in replace of Sewer. And I believe Josh Curran will come in and probably play off the bench in this game. Sean O'Sullivan, I think, will probably get a go off the bench as well. So plenty of changes to come is my prediction in the Bulldogs team come Friday night. Now, the Melbourne Storm at fullback, Suavali Farlogo. The two wingers are Will Warbrick and Moses Leo. Jack Howarth and Nick Meaney in the centres. Keegan Russell Smith lines up in the 5'8 jersey, the number 6 instead of Cameron Munster. The 7 is Jerome Hughes. Big Stefano Utoi Kamanu. 9, Trent Talau in replacement of Harry Grant for Origin. And 10 is Josh King. The back rowers, Sean Blore, Atavalu Lasardi, and the 13 is Cooper Clark. 14, instead of Trent Loiero. The 14 is Gabrielle Satrick, 15 Alec McDonald, the 16 is Davey Mawali, and the 17 is Stanley Hewen. The 18 is Joe Chan, 19 Manaya Watari. The 20 is Jack Hetherington, who we haven't seen overly too much of so far in season 2026. The 21 is Josiah Pahulu, and the 22 is Preston Conn. Now, Saturday, Super Saturday this week, we only have the 2 games, and the first game kicks off at Winju Jubilee Stadium between the Dragons and the New Zealand Warriors. This kicks off at 5:30 p.m. At fullback, Clint Gutherson for the Dragons. The two wingers, Setu Tu and Christian Tuapolotu. The centres are Jaden Sewer and Valentine Holmes. Jaden Sewer coming in. Interesting. Into the centres there. The halves are Daniel Atkinson and Cole Flanagan. Up front, Big Lockhart Jr. Pacifica Tonga. Damien Cook in the number 9 jersey and Toby Couchman up front as well in the 10. The back rowers are Dylan Egan, Hamish Stewart at 12, and the 13 is Ryan Couchman. The bench is Luciano Leilua, Amray Gula, Josh Kerr and Blake Laurie. The 18 is Tyrell Sloan. The 19 is Licken King Tongia. The 20 is Hayden Buchanan. The 21 is Hame Sally. And the 22 is Tyler Peckham Harris. And that is how the Dragons line up. Now for the Warriors at fullback, they did a good job last week on the Broncos. At fullback, Tane Tuapiki. The two wingers, Dallin Wateni Zelezniak and Alofi Khan Pereira. The centres are Ali Leatua and Adam Pompey. The halves, Chanel Harris Tavita. No Luke Metcalf in this game. No origin duties. He's just hasn't been picked. I expected to see him named in the 7 instead of Tanner Boyd with that unfortunate ACL injury. But Timare Martin came on, played halfback last week when Tanner Boyd went down and did a fine job, if I may say so. At 8, James Fisher-Harris. The 9 is Wade Egan. And the 10 is Jackson Ford. The back rowers, Leka Halasima, Jacob Laban, and the 13 is Aaron Clark. On the bench, Sam Healy, Tanastoa Smith, Dimitri Valmaga, and the 17 is Eddie Aromia Tuavava. The 18 is Luke Hanson, the young 5'8 from for the Warriors. The 20 is Marata Niokore. Kalis Fatialofa, haven't seen much of him at all this year. A young back rower, promising future for this kid. Makai Tafua, and the 23 is Roger Tuivasa Shek. So expect Roger to be named at some point in the starting lineup. Going to be interesting to see where he plays. Apparently he's ready to go. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Andrew Webster handles that situation. Now, the second game on your Super Saturday, you can catch this on KO Sports and Fox League. The Manly Sea Eagles and the Gold Coast Titans. Manly, a few out in this game, to be honest with you. At fullback, Clayton Faololo. The two wingers are Jason Saab and Blake Wilson comes in to replace Lehigh Hopewadi, who accidentally bumped into a ref last week and suspended for a week. So, anyway, accidents happen in our game. Don't get me started on that. The two centres are Josh Fellerty and Ruben Garrick. The halves, Luke Brooks and Jamal Fogarty. The 8 is Taniela Paseka. The 9 is Brandon Wakeham. And the 10 is Ethan Bullimore. The back rowers are Jackson Sherab, Ben Travojevic and Jake Travojevic. On the bench is Jake Simpkin, Nathan Brown, Kobe Hetherington and Simeone Leifai. The 18 is Hugo Hart, a young back rower. The 19 is Joey Walsh. 20 Onatoni Large, 21 Zach Dockett Clay, and the 22 is Aaron Shop, who can also play centre and back row. For the Gold Coast Titans, so obviously no Tolatau Kola and Hamoli Olakwatu out for Manly in that game, and there's no Big Tino for the Gold Coast Titans. The fullback, no Jojo Fafita. Due to origin duties at fullback for the Titans, Keanu Kinney. The two wingers, Jensen Tamapaya and Philip Sammy. The two centres are Jalen DeGroot and AJ Brimson. In the halves are Jaden Campbell and Zane Harrison playing just his 4th NRL game. Big Mo Fotuaika up front with Clace Haas, and the hooker is Oliver Pascoe. Been really impressed with him over the last couple of weeks. The back rowers are Rama Howe, Bo Firma and Cooper Bai starting in that lock forward position. On the bench is Curtis Moran, Josh Patson, Luke Summerton, Adam Christensen, and the 18 is Lachlan Ilias. Bodie Sharpley is the 19. 20 is Max Feagai. 21 is Chris Randall, and 22 Tony Francis. If Chris Randall's ready to go, expect him to line up in the back row to start, you'd think, or he may come off the bench. And I'd say Arama Howe will come off the bench if that's the case. If he does start in the back row there. Sunday tickets, Sunday afternoon football, 4:05 p.m. at Queensland Country Bank Stadium between the Cowboys and the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Let's have a look at the Cowboys in this game. Gee, they were impressive against the Sydney Roosters last week. At fullback, Scott Drinkwater. The two wingers are Robert Derby and Zach Labour. The centres are Jackson Purdue and Thomas Chester. The halves, Liam Sutton and Jake Clifford. Up front, Thomas McKaylee, Reid Marnie at dummy half, and Matthew Lodge in the number 10. The back rowers are Helam Lukey, Sam McIntyre, and the 13, welcome back, Jason Taumalolo, locking the scrum in his main jersey, if I should say so. I know he's played a lot of front row over the last couple of years, but when I I think Jason Tomalolo, I think one of the best lock forwards that the game has ever seen. The 14 is Viliami Valia to cover the outside backs. The 15 is Griffin Neem. 16, Kai O'Donnell. The 17 is Cohen Hess. He's been impressive for the Cowboys this year, Cohen Hess. Xavier Kerrisk is a young dummy half in the 18. 19, Ethan King. Wiramu Greg in the 20. 21, Ronald Phil-Toga. And the 22 is the young fullback, outside back there, Mason Barber. For the South Sydney Rabbitohs at fullback, Jai Gray. The two wingers, Alex Johnson and Talanoa Penatani on debut. Fantastic stuff there. Latrell Seagwalt comes back into the side. And the 4, the other centre, is Tallis Duncan in the centres. Now, the halves are Cody Walker and Ashton Ward. Up front, Tavita Totola. Peter Mamazula starts in the number 9 jersey, and Sean Kepi in the 10. The back rowers are Ewan Aitken, Keon Kalamatangi in the 12 and the 13. Lock in the scrum is Adam Elliott. On the bench is Matthew Duffy, 15, Lachlan Hubner, 16, Jamie Humphreys, and the 17 is Liam LeBlanc. The 18, the young back rower, Thomas Fletcher. Edward Cossey is the 19, and the 20 is Moala Graham Tafua. The 21, Bronson Garlick. John Riddell is the 22. So if Bronson Garlick is expected, if he's expected to play this week, expect him to start at dummy half with Peter Mamazoulis coming off the bench, because young Peter Mamazoulis, I tell you what, the last few years I haven't seen overly much from him in his NRL career. This year he's been absolutely outstanding for South Sydney, especially in that 14 jersey, off the bench, bringing the energy and enthusiasm into the South side when they need it in the second half. So they are your team lists for round 12 of the National Rugby League competition for 2026. This is the Rugby League Forecast Podcast. Go Manly, 40-0.